Bonsoir. So bonsoir means good evening. So it's around about 6ish. So I'm saying bonsoir, which means good evening. So before we move on to our new topic, which is all about what is in your town, I thought I'd do a recap on what we learnt last week. So last week we learnt about la famille. La famille. Can you remember the word for family? Let me see. Can you see that? Trying to do it so the light reflection is okay. So, la famille. La famille is the family. Can you remember the different words for each member of the family? Can you remember the word for the dad? The word for the dad was le père. Le père. Le père. Did you remember that? Can you remember the word for the mum? So in our family, I'm the mum. What am I? The mum is la mère. There I am. La mère. In one of our favourite cities. Can you remember the word for the brother? The word for the brother? Le frère. There he is. Le frère. If you were writing that down, would you remember that accent, making that air sound? Le frère. And finally, can you remember the word for the sister? La sœur. There she is, la sœur. Now, we went on to learn other words like the grandparents. I wonder if you could maybe challenge yourself to see what you can remember from those. So today, we're going to actually be learning about places in town. So the town is la ville. La ville. So let's see what we can compare maybe a French town to our town that we live in. Well, we live in a city of St Albans, don't we? But let's compare the two. I've got here a picture of Lyon. So there is Lyon. It's France's second biggest city after Paris. We've also got Marseille, which is another big city. But this is Lyon. Lyon's a beautiful city with two rivers running through it. It's got a very new part and a very old part. It's huge, as you can see. So we're going to have a look at some places in Lyon. And then we're going to look at some places in St Albans. So the first one I'm going to start with is a shop. A shop. So a shop is un magasin. Un magasin. If I was saying that would be a shop. If I was saying the shop, it would be le magasin. Le magasin. But actually, as you can see in this picture, there's more than one. So how do we change the word the in French, which would be le? How do we change that for when there's more than one and we want to say the? Because in English, the is always there regardless of how many we're talking about. But in French, we would change it to les. To les, which is plural the. So here we go. Les magasins. Les magasins is the shops. So le becomes les. And magasin needs to have an S added on the end because there's more than one. And here it's a few years old, but there's pictures of some shops in Lyon. So, les magasins, the shops. Le magasin, the shop. Okay, what about a supermarket? I wonder if you've heard of the word for a supermarket. There's Tesco's on St Albans High Street. The supermarket, the word for the supermarket is le supermarché. Le supermarché. Okay, the supermarket. Le supermarché. With the accent on the E, give it that E sound. Now, here is the town square in Lyon. And most towns and cities and even villages in France have got a town square. Central part where you'd normally have the town hall. You might have cafes and restaurants, people eating outside. Like here you might have a monument in the middle. So there is a town square which is called La Place. La Place. So here's St Albans Town Square. This building in front of you did used to be our town hall. We'll come back to that in a minute. But there's the town square. And in French we call it La Place. La place. That's the town square. It's a place of gatherings. You might have been to some festivals in St Albans when we used to have them. Obviously we have market there. You might have stages there around about Christmas time when they're turning on the lights. There's all sorts of activities. So back to the building that was the town hall in St Albans, which is now the St Albans Museum, and the word for the museum is le musée. Le musée. Pay attention to the word the again. Sometimes it's le, as in le musée, and sometimes we're going to see la, because don't forget, the way of saying the could be le for masculine nouns, la for feminine nouns, or le if it's plural, as we've just said with the shops. Here's one of my favourite places where you can meet friends. If you can see that, it is a cafe. And we've actually borrowed that word cafe because in French, that's what we use, le café. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get this so that the writing is reflected properly because of the light. It's being a bit tricky. But le café, that would be just café with an E, an accent over the E. That's better. Le café. There we go. Le café. So then we've got another one of my favourite places, a bakery. A bakery, and in St Albans we've got quite a few bakeries. Here's one in the town centre. It's a longer word than we're used to. It is la boulangerie. Can you see that? La boulangerie. Let me just try and bring that into focus. La boulangerie is the bakery. So now the determiner the is la, because the word for bakery is feminine. La boulangerie. Can you say that? So the bakery is la boulangerie. And that's where we might go and get our croissant, our baguette. I know if you're used to going on holiday in France, some of you have told me you would go to the boulangerie in the morning and get your fresh bread or croissant au chocolat. Somewhere else, and we've got two of these in St Albans. We've got two train stations. And here we have, the word for train station is la gare. La gare. Can you all say la gare? And then I walked across the road from the St Albans Abbey station to the swimming pool. We've got quite a few swimming pools in St Albans because we've got swimming pools in schools, we've got swimming pools in leisure centres, and the word for swimming pool is la piscine. La piscine, the swimming pool. And finally, we've had this word before when we were talking about where we went on holiday. Can you remember the word for park? The word for park is quite similar to the English. Whoops, wrong way around. Back to... And here we go. Trying to bring it into focus. Le parc. Le parc. Now, sometimes we don't pronounce that last letter in French, but we could for park. Le parc. So, as I said, if you go back through and have a look, or if you were making a note of them, sometimes the in front of the noun was masculine, as in le. Sometimes it was feminine. So, if you're going to say where you're going, so you might want to talk about what you might do en ville, in town. If you're going to talk about where you're going, the word for that you would use in front of the noun, maybe at the shops, at the bakery, at the swimming pool, that changes depending on whether your noun is masculine or feminine. So for the words that we've just been using, we might have au, au, if it's masculine. So for example, we might have au parc. So we would just drop the le. We would drop the le and we would put au in front of it. Au parc would mean at the park. If we were talking about the supermarket, let's say the cafe, we would drop the word le and we would put, so at the cafe, you would not use le and you'd put au in front of it. Au café. At the cafe. So anything that's masculine, drop the le and put au in front of it. That would mean at. But for feminine nouns, we would have à la. Two different words, à la. So we would say à la boulangerie, à la piscine. So again, you drop the la. Sorry, you don't drop the la. You put à with an accent over it. We're not writing it, we're just talking about it. So at the bakery, à la boulangerie. Okay, so there's something. If I know some of you are trying to have a little bit of a challenging class, which is fantastic. So we just need to think about what we would change in the grammar, but the noun would stay the same. So I wonder if maybe you could think about where you like to go in St Albans, or where you like to go if you're visiting a town or a city, and you can see if you can remember the vocabulary. You could maybe draw the High Street, St Peter Street, and maybe see if you can label different places in there. Okay? You could always draw them and label them. It's entirely up to you. Maybe you could set your own challenge for yourself or a partner. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. Until next time, au revoir.